Okay, imagine protecting something absolutely critical. Not, just a physical thing, but something intangible, something that's maybe the backbone of your life or your company.
Like blueprints or your financial history, maybe.
Exactly, or even just collective knowledge. How do you keep that safe, especially when it feels kind of invisible?
Right. And in our world, so much is digital now.
That's the challenge, isn't it?
Yeah.
Information. So what is information security really? How are we actually protecting the important stuff in our digital lives? Today, we're diving into a field that honestly touches every single part of our existence, whether we realize it or not.
Oh.
Information security, InfoSec,
Yeah, and it's always changing, always adapting.
but the core ideas, surprisingly timeless.
Absolutely. And our mission for this deep dive, it's really to get past the buzzwords. We want to give you a solid understanding.
So we'll look at what InfoSec actually means.
Right. How it's different from cybersecurity because they are different. We'll unpack those core principles, the bedrock stuff.
And talk about the threats out there.
Definitely. The threats and, importantly, the strategies people and companies are using to stay safe. We've looked at insights from places like DataGuard, IBM, Microsoft, NIST, a whole range of sources to get the full picture.
Okay, so when we hear security, maybe we think passwords, firewalls, locked doors.
Yeah, obvious things.
But InfoSec,
Yeah.
it's much bigger than that,
Lots of
right? It
stuff.
goes beyond just the digital stuff.
It really does. At its heart, InfoSec is about protecting information by managing risk. It sounds a bit formal, maybe, but it applies to all kinds of information.
And information here means, well, everything, not just computer files.
Exactly. It could be electronic, sure, but also physical paperwork in a filing cabinet. It could be intangible stuff like know-how, intellectual property stored in someone's head.
Wow, okay, it's really broad.
Super broad. And the main goal, the thing it always comes back to, is balancing three key things: confidentiality, integrity, and availability.
The famous CIA triad.
That's the one. We'll definitely dig into that.
Okay, but first you mentioned InfoSec versus cybersecurity. People use those terms interchangeably all the time.
They do, and it causes a lot of confusion. They're related, definitely, but not the same.
So what's the key difference?
Think of cybersecurity as the big umbrella. It's about protecting the whole of cyberspace, the networks, the devices, the communication lines, and the information flowing through it all.
Okay.
Information security, though, is more specific. It zooms in on protecting the information itself, the actual asset, whether that information is digital, on paper, or even an idea.
Ah, okay. So cybersecurity protects the house, the pipes, the wires.
Right.
And InfoSec is specifically about protecting the valuables inside the house.
That's a great analogy. Yeah, it puts the focus squarely on the data, the knowledge, the information asset.
That makes sense. It's a subtle distinction, but I can see how that focus changes your strategy.
It absolutely does. Think about securing a server room with physical locks and guards. That server might be offline, not technically in cyberspace right then, but protecting the data on those servers, that's still squarely in the realm of information security. Now, obviously, when we talk cyber attacks, the target is usually electronic info, so the terms overlap heavily in that context.
But the underlying principle of protecting the information is key.
Exactly. It helps build a more complete defense.
Okay, so this brings us back to that foundation you mentioned, the CIA triad. Not that CIA, obviously.
No, not quite. Though sometimes the pressure feels similar.
Right. So this framework, NIST suggested it way back in '77. And it's still guiding decisions today.
It really is, popularized by Steve Lipner later on, but yes, confidentiality, integrity, availability, it's the bedrock. Let's break them down.
Okay, let's start with C, confidentiality.
Confidentiality is basically about privacy, making sure that only the right people, the authorized users or systems, can access sensitive information.
So keeping secret.
Pretty much. We achieve this with things like data encryption, multi-factor authentication, where you need a password and a code from your phone.
MFA, yeah.
Strong password rules, data loss prevention tools that kind of watch where data is going. It's all about preventing unauthorized eyes from seeing things like your bank details or medical records or a company's secret sauce.
Got it. Makes sense. What about IDE? Integrity.
Integrity is all about trust. It's making sure the data is accurate and complete and stays that way. It hasn't been tampered with or modified by someone who shouldn't have.
And that's not just hackers changing things.
No, absolutely not. It could be accidental corruption, or maybe an employee who is authorized makes a mistake, a typo in a critical record that could cause problems down the line.
Right.
So achieving integrity involves things like strict file permissions, who can read, who can write, who can delete. It involves identity management, access controls, even version control so you can track changes and roll back mistakes. It ensures the data you're using is actually correct and reliable.
Okay. Trust. That's key.
Yeah.
And the last one, A, availability.
Availability. This one's straightforward but crucial. Making sure authorized users can get to the information they need when they need it.
So the system needs to be up and running.
Exactly. Imagine a hospital's patient record system crashing during an emergency, or an online store going down on Black Friday. That's an availability failure.
Disaster.
Total disaster. So we ensure availability through things like reliable hardware and software, backups, protecting against denial of service attacks, those attacks that flood systems to knock them offline.
The DDoS attack.
Right, DDoS. And having really solid disaster recovery plans, often with backups stored in totally different geographic locations. It keeps things running even if there's a power outage, hardware failure, or, something worse.
It sounds like a perfect triangle. But I guess achieving all three perfectly at the same time must be tricky. Like, if you make something super confidential with layers of checks, does that slow down availability?
Oh, absolutely. That's the constant balancing act. It's a great point. You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
Really strong encryption, great for confidentiality. Might slow down how quickly you can access the data, impacting availability. Or complex access rules for integrity might make it, frankly, a pain for legitimate users to do their jobs quickly.
So it's a trade-off.
It's always a trade-off. Guided by risk management, you have to decide what level of risk are we willing to accept for this specific data? What's the priority? It's definitely not one size fits all, especially now with, the massive amounts of data and all these connected IoT devices creating new weak spots.
Right. The Internet of Things adds a whole new layer of complexity. Okay, so we've got the foundations, the CIA triad. But what are we actually defending against? Who are the bad guys, or maybe even the good guys making mistakes?
Well, the threat landscape is vast, and it changes constantly. A big category is still malware, malicious software.
Viruses, worms.
Yeah, the classics are still around, but things have evolved. Ransomware now is incredibly sophisticated, sometimes state-sponsored. It doesn't just lock your computer. It can encrypt an entire company's network, cripple hospitals, cities.
Scary stuff.
It is. And then you have advanced spyware, like Pegasus, that can silently infect phones and monitor everything. It shows how targeted and persistent these things can be, often using vulnerabilities nobody even knew existed yet, 0 days.
And beyond malware.
Oh, yeah. Phishing and social engineering. This is where the human element is huge.
The fake emails and messages.
Exactly. Cybercriminals getting really good at impersonating banks, bosses, colleagues, government agencies, tricking people into clicking bad links, giving up passwords, or wiring money.
Yeah, and it works.
Frighteningly well. There's a stat, something like over 90% of data breaches involve some form of social engineering.
Wow, 90%. That's staggering.
It tells you something, right? Even the best tech defenses can sometimes be bypassed by exploiting basic human trust or urgency.
That connects to insider threats too, doesn't it?
Yeah.
People already inside the organization.
Definitely. And that can be malicious, someone intentionally stealing data or causing damage. But honestly, more often it's unintentional. Negligence.
Like clicking that phishing link we just talked about.
Precisely. Or mishandling sensitive data, losing a laptop. It happens. Places with maybe high staff turnover, or where security training isn't great, or where people just feel rushed and cut corners, they're more vulnerable.
And we shouldn't forget physical threats either, right? Like theft or even a fire.
Absolutely. Theft of devices, sabotage, natural disasters. They all pose a risk to information systems and the data they hold. It's all part of the threat landscape InfoSec has to consider.
It really drives home how many threats prey on that human factor. A moment's distraction, a single click.
Yep. And the consequences are serious. Financial losses, identity theft, reputational damage, disruption of vital services. It hits everyone. Individuals, companies, governments.
Okay, so the threats are serious, they're varied, they're everywhere. How do we fight back? You mentioned it's not just one thing.
Right. It's about layers. The concept is called defense in depth. You don't rely on just one wall. You build multiple layers of defense. We usually group these defenses or security controls into 3 main types.
Okay, what are...
First, you have technical controls. These are the technology-based defenses. Things like firewalls acting as barriers, antivirus, and anti-malware software.
Stuff most people think of.
Exactly. But it also includes more advanced things now, like sophisticated encryption, security for cloud systems, using AI to spot weird activity in real time, intrusion detection and prevention systems. The tech tools.
Got it. Technical. What's next?
Second, administrative controls. These are about people and processes, policies, procedures, guidelines.
Like the company rulebook for security.
That's a good way to put it. Information security policies that say how you handle sensitive data, how you report a breach, rules for changing passwords, acceptable use policies for work devices, and crucially, security awareness training. These controls guide how people should behave securely.
Okay, tech and rules. What's the third layer?
Physical controls, tangible security measures, things you can see and touch.
Locks, cameras.
Surveillance cameras, alarm systems, security guards, locked server room doors, maybe even biometric scanners like fingerprint or iris readers, protecting the actual physical hardware and locations where information lives or is processed. Because, if someone can just walk in and grab your server.
All the fancy firewalls don't matter much.
Exactly. Layers.
Yep.
Technical, administrative, physical.
Okay, that makes sense. But going back to that human factor, that 90% social engineering statistic is really sticking with me. If that's the weakest link, what's the most effective way to shore up that specific defense?
Without a doubt, it's security awareness training. And this is a big, but not the way it used to be done.
You mean those once-a-year, hour-long, boring presentations?
Exactly those. They just don't work well. The thinking has shifted towards what some call psychological security. It accepts that the human mind itself is the target.
Okay. How does that change the training?
The goal isn't just to make people scared or memorize rules, is to actually build good habits, to reach that sort of primitive part of the brain that recognizes threats instinctively.
How do you do that?
Well, effective training now needs to be relatable. Connect these security ideas to everyday life. Use humor, tell stories, give practical tips people can use at home too, like spotting credit card skimmers or being safe on public Wi-Fi.
Makes it stick better.
Much better. And it needs to be regular and short. Forget the annual marathon. Think short, frequent reminders or micro-trainings. Maybe less than 2 minutes, even 90 seconds, delivered often.
Keeps it top of mind.
Precisely. And critically, use positive reinforcement. If someone clicks on a phishing test email, the reaction shouldn't be punishment. It should be, okay, let's learn from this. Be glad it was just a test this time. Build a learning culture, not a blame culture.
And everyone needs to do it, not just regular staff.
Everyone. Top to bottom. Security culture starts at the top. If the CEO takes it seriously, everyone else is more likely to. Continuous education for all.
Okay, so it's a whole ecosystem. The tech controls, the admin controls like policies and training, the physical stuff. For a big organization, managing all that must be complex. It can't just be reacting when something bad happens.
Absolutely not. It requires a strategic, planned approach. A grand design, if you will.
And what does that look like?
At the absolute core is risk management. It's a continuous cycle. Identify your risks, assess how likely and impactful they are, decide how to handle them, mitigate them with controls, accept them if they're small enough, transfer the risk, like with insurance, or maybe just avoid the risky activity altogether.
Understanding what you're up against and making deliberate choices.
Exactly. It's about understanding your specific vulnerabilities and deciding how much risk you're willing to live with.
And that ties into the policies you mentioned.
Directly. A formal information security policy is crucial. It's the high-level document that sets the principles, the objectives, the overall direction for security in the organization. It covers everything: data handling, backups, incident response, employee responsibilities. It's the foundation for security culture.
Is there like a standard way to structure all this?
There are frameworks that help guide organizations. One of the most widely recognized, especially in the US but used globally, is the NIST Cybersecurity Framework, CSF. Version 2.0 just came out.
NIST CSF.
Yeah.
What does that actually do for a company?
Think of it as a common language and a flexible guide, not a rigid rule book. It organizes cybersecurity activities into 6 main functions: govern, identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover.
Okay.
It helps organizations understand their current security posture, figure out where they want to be, identify gaps, prioritize actions, and communicate about risk more effectively, both internally and externally. It's adaptable to any size or type of organization.
So it provides structure for this strategy.
Exactly. And one more really important, though maybe less exciting piece of the management puzzle is change management.
Changing things sounds risky in security.
It can be. That's why change management exists. It's a formal process for controlling any alterations to your IT environment. Hardware updates, software patches, network configuration changes.
Making sure changes don't accidentally break something or open a security hole.
Precisely. The goal isn't to stop progress, it's to manage the risk associated with change. It involves steps like requesting the change, getting approval, planning it, testing it, communicating it, implementing it carefully, documenting it, and then reviewing it afterwards.
That sounds like a lot for, say, adding a new user.
Well, the process is usually scaled. Upgrading a critical company-wide server, that needs the full rigorous process. Creating one new user account. Much simpler, maybe just needs a manager's approval logged. It's about applying the right level of control to manage the risk of each specific change.
Phew. Okay, that was definitely a deep dive. Information security. It really is this mix of high-tech stuff, human psychology, and like really detailed organizational planning.
It truly is. It's way more than just IT.
So key takeaways. InfoSec isn't just computers, it's all information.
Right. Physical, digital, conceptual.
The CIA triad, confidentiality, integrity, availability, that's the absolute foundation.
The guiding principles, yeah.
We're defending against a massive range of threats, and so many exploit that human factor.
Which makes effective, continuous training absolutely critical.
And the defense is layered. Technical, administrative, physical controls, all managed through strategic risk assessment, clear policies, maybe using frameworks like NIST, and careful change management.
You've got it. That's the SS.
And for everyone listening, understanding this stuff, even the basics, really matters. It affects your personal passwords, your online safety, the security of the companies you interact with, even public services. It empowers you to be smarter and safer online.
Definitely. And maybe a final thought to leave you with. We know technology and threats are evolving incredibly fast. We also know the human element is often the biggest vulnerability, but potentially also the strongest defense if trained well.
Right.
So looking ahead, what kind of really innovative ways might we see emerge to bridge that gap? How can we better mesh human intuition and awareness with complex digital security tools to stay truly one step ahead? Something to think about.